Welcome to the 3 Championship Drive podcast, hosted by me, Lance Caporossi, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, and I am feeling good today. Anyways, let's have some fun. First and foremost, this is a Pistons podcast. We always talk about the Detroit Pistons. Sometimes I like to talk about other things at the beginning, but because it's my podcast, I can do whatever the hell I want. Real quick, I'm going to complain because I need to. I need to vent. Just a little bit, just a pinch. I'm calling out whoever Detroit Pistons Reddit moderators there are. I made 2 posts yesterday. I rarely post on Reddit. I comment quite a bit because I do have a lot of fun doing that. I can be somewhat of a troll on Reddit. I like to troll Pistons fans from time to time. I think it's fun. But anyways, I posted the news about Kevin Huerter re-signing with Detroit, and I reposted the news about Jalen Duren seeking a sign-and trade with Sacramento. It was getting good leverage. Like, I was having a blast talking and conversing with people about the Detroit Pistons, but then I noticed everything kind of stopped, which was a little interesting to me just because it was popping off when we were all talking about it. What I found out, and this is why I'm calling out the Reddit moderators of the Detroit Pistons subreddit, you deleted my post. I understand other people were posting about it, but I was one of the first, if not the first person to post about the news. And 20 minutes after I posted it, it gets deleted. A little surprised by that, considering there is so much just slop and filth posted on the Detroit Pistons subreddit that doesn't advance conversation. It's just, that's what it's for. It's just people's opinions. But I'm just posting the news, giving a 1 or 2 sentence opinion on the news, and it gets deleted. And this is not the first time it has happened. And I know none of these dudes know my account, so it's not like they're attacking me personally. I just feel a little offended because, dude, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to create some dialogue in the Pistons subreddit. But you're pushing me away if you keep deleting my post about the Detroit Pistons. It would be different if I was being a jerk in there. I've certainly said some things that probably should have been deleted because, again, I like to troll. But just deleting my posts about the news, going to be honest, a little freaking small. I didn't write this down, but let's talk about Kevin Huerter for a minute. Signs a 3-year deal with the Detroit Pistons for $27 million. Look, I understand Pistons fans are a little confused. They're probably a little annoyed with this trade. I don't hate it. This signing, I don't hate them re-signing Kevin Huerter because it kind of, for some reason, seems like Duncan Robinson is going bye-bye, which I don't understand why, because they have the cap room, and I believe even if they kept Duncan Robinson, they would still be a team under the cap. So, okay, doesn't make any sense. But back to Kevin Huerter. Did not play much in the playoffs. Actually only played 5 games, averaged 9 minutes per game. Shot 29% from the field, 40% from 3. So maybe he's finding his shot finally after a couple of years. Only averaged 1 point, 1 assist, 1 rebound. Didn't get to the free throw line. Again, 5 minutes. Did not play at all. Pretty much just seemed to be a non-factor. That's what it looked like from all of us. So you're probably wondering, why did he get a new contract with the Detroit Pistons? And I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. I have no idea. He's a career journeyman. He has not played well. He has not shot the ball well pretty much since his final full season with the Sacramento Kings. This is when he was 25 years old, and he was shooting 36% from the three-point line. Now, there was his first 26 games in Chicago. He did shoot 38% from the three-point line on 7 attempts. But really, the past couple of seasons, his three-point shot has been abysmal. This dude is considered a sniper. And he's not very accurate. So 3 years, $27 million. Again, you got to be wondering, like, is this part of a larger deal? Do they think, hey, even though he's for 3 years, this can be a piece that we move down the line during this season? I don't know. I don't know who's actually looking at Kevin Huerter and thinking, man, he could help our team out. My only thought when it comes to Kevin Huerter is, dude, find your jump shot. Be in the gym with the SAR, and both of you just discover a jump shot that can help this team win. Please. Like, I don't understand it. Looking at his numbers, too, this dude is kind of a confusing player because he's considered a sniper. He's a career 37%. He's a career 37% shooter from the three-point line, but he's a career 76% shooter from the free throw line. And, I mean, he doesn't get to the line often, so maybe he actually is better at shooting free throws than the 76% for his career. But, like, what such an odd way. Like, you would think if you're considered a shooter, your free throw percentage when you're at the line, it would be automatic. But it's not. That makes me he makes me suspicious just a little bit if he was ever really a good shooter at all. But 3 years, $27 million. Hopefully he finds a shot and he replaces Duncan Robinson because it seems like the Pistons will be releasing Duncan Robinson. So the big news of yesterday was Jalen Duren is seeking a sign and trade with Sacramento. Apparently the Lakers are also in a mix, and I just hate that so much. I don't want to help Los Angeles. I love Luka's game. I loved him more in Dallas. I hate that he's a Laker. I hate that he's a Laker. I hate it. And nothing would piss me off more if the Los Angeles Lakers somehow sign Jalen Duren and him and Luka just do their thing for like 5 years and they look really great together. I do not want to see it. So my immediate thoughts of hearing that Jalen Duren and his camp are seeking a sign and trade with Sacramento in LA. I won't be rooting for him in LA. I will not be doing it. Every time I see a highlight or if I'm at a game and I happen to be watching the Lakers there, which I probably won't, I will be booing him. I will not applaud him. I will not say, you gave us a few good years. I'm not doing any of that. I am booing him. I am booing him. I am booing him. And I am booing him. I don't really agree with fans doing that, but if he goes to LA and plays for the Lakers, if he wears that purple and gold, yeah, I'm booting him for the rest of his career. I'm booing him. I will not. I will be the loudest in the arena. It could be silent with him shooting free throws. And you will hear me booing the heck out of Jalen Duren if he goes and wears a purple and gold jersey. And I think every Pistons fan should. If we're going to talk about the Lakers being one of our biggest rivals, we boo this man. We boo him. We have watched him since he was drafted. We've seen the player he's become, and now he's just a little disgruntled that he's not getting paid enough. He sucked in the playoffs. Don't care what anybody says. He sucked in the playoffs. He doesn't deserve $40+ million a year. I know my tune changes from episode to episode. Whatever. I might have a condition that needs to be looked at by a therapist. But guess what? Dude, I'm not talking to a therapist right now. I'm talking to you, so I can say whatever I want. It's fine. Anyways, let's get back into this. My immediate thoughts were, I'm not rooting for him in LA. Dude really wants to get paid like a superstar, and he's not. Like, all-NBA third team and one-time All-Star does not make you a superstar in the NBA last time I checked. So he's not a superstar. Winning doesn't seem to be a priority. And I'm not in his head. I have no idea. He can sit here and tell the world, yeah, winning's the only thing I think about. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not the feeling I get from Jalen Duren. I don't get the feeling that winning is a major priority. Because if you would, you'd be looking at a 60-win team. You'd be looking like, dang, we got bounced in the second round. We were this close to going to the Eastern Conference Finals. What can I do to help this team win? If you're a basketball player or if you're a dad or a mom that wants to get your kids into basketball, try to change their mindset to being like, how do they focus on winning? How do they focus on winning so much that they will do whatever they can to help the team win so we don't have any more Jalen Durens? My other thought was hopefully we get Maxi Reynon. I'm a fan of him. He was a second-round pick. He averaged 12 and 7. He shot 1 3-pointer a game. I really love his skill set. I think that dude's going to be pretty good. I think his rookie numbers would have even been better playing with a guard like Cade Cunningham, just because Cade is so good at raising the floor of players around him because he puts them in good situations and he sets them up real nicely where they don't have to do much. And then my final thought was, man, I am a little disappointed. I know I've been hard on Jalen Duren since I started recording 3 Championship Drive again, however many episodes that was ago. So I am. I mean, I know I've been hard on him, but I am a little disappointed because on draft night, when I was still co-hosting Pistons Talk, I had told the other host, Anthony, that I wanted the Pistons to move back into the first round and draft Jalen Duren. And that's exactly what they did. I was so hyped. I loved that move by Troy Weaver, trading back into the first round and being able to go get our guy. So that's why I'm disappointed. I believed in this guy from the beginning. I still believe in him. I think that he can develop more as an offensive player. But man, it's just like, wow. I'm not allowed to be upset. I'm not allowed to be hurt. When I started watching this kid, he couldn't even buy alcohol. And now I've seen him mature into a man. I've been there when he had his first heartbreak with Angel Reese. We've been there for a lot with Jalen Duren. So it is a little disappointing that he's seeking a sign and trade instead of just going back to Trajan Langdon's office and just saying, let's figure this out. Let's work on something where both parties are happy. That would be the mature thing. That would be the winning attitude we would want to see in Detroit. And we're just not getting it. And now, before you attack me about Jalen Duren, because as much, I was telling my daughter this the other day, I love recording a podcast because you get the love, you get the hate, you get people agreeing with you, you get people disagreeing with you. And in my opinion, you have to love the back and forth between the people that listen to your podcast. I do love it. I absolutely do. I love arguing with people. I love people that try to give me a different point of view on one of my takes. You're making me better by listening and commenting. I really do appreciate it. But the other day, I get a comment. Well, it's not even a comment. I had a conversation with someone that does listen to it. This is a real life person. And he's like, dude, you're being too hard on Jalen Duren. You're acting as if Cade made this guy's career. You're acting as if Cade, every time that Jalen Duren and him go down the ball, he can't do anything unless Cade sets him up. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's fine. It's not like I watched 60 Pistons games last year in all of the playoff games. I'm sure there are fans that watch more than 60. It was a down year for me. I'm closer to 79. I'm right there, baby. I almost watch every single one if it's available. Even if it's not, yeah, that's right. I'm going to one of those websites to watch it where there's a 15-second delay. But let me tell you, 65% of his made field goals were assisted. Out of 522 made field goals, 65% of them were assisted, where he was, hey, Cade, I'm right here. Dump the ball off. And if you go watch his highlights on YouTube, just do that and count. It's going to take more than 2 hands. Count how many times he catches a Cade Cunningham lob for 2. Go ahead and tell me. That is what I am talking about. There is nothing wrong with your point guard setting you up for easy baskets. You really think Kenyon Martin from the early 2000s would have got paid by Denver if Jason Kidd wasn't setting him up? There is nothing wrong with it. It is not me insulting Jalen Duren and saying that he's a bad basketball player because his point guard, whose job it is to create easy offense and easy looks for his teammates, is doing that with Jalen Duren. There is nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying that Jalen Duren is a good basketball player because of Cade. I am saying that Cade makes his life a little easier by having all of the gravity, having all of the attention from the defense, where he can either throw it up top or just dump it off to Jalen Duren, who's, let's be honest, if you look at his shots, we're talking 70% of his shots came in less than 5 feet. 68% of those made field goals were assisted less than 5 feet. He was catching lobs. He was getting layups. He was getting easy dunks. I mean, you can go watch his highlights, and I'm telling you right now, go and watch them, go and pay attention, and you will see how many times he had a layup with no defender around him because Cade had sucked the defense in and just dropped it off. That is how they play basketball. There is nothing wrong with that. And like, man, I know I'm going on a rant right now, but like that conversation just irritated me because like it's almost like you're slapping me in the face just a little bit and saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You didn't watch the Pistons because if you had watched the Pistons, you would have seen a different player. No, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know who you were watching, but Jalen Duren needs help creating offense. He does not create offense. Could he do that at LA Fitness or YMCA or over in China? Yeah, probably. Sure, but we're not over it. We're not in any of those venues. We're here in the NBA where he needs a good point guard like Cade Cunningham to set the offense up for him. That is what he needs. That is how he is thriving. That is how he was a 20-10 player and an all-star and an all-NBA third-team center last season. Don't point to me and say, oh, yeah, did you see his numbers without Cade? I don't care. He had Dennis Jenkins feeding him. Dennis Jenkins is obviously not Cade Cunningham, but if it wasn't for Dennis and if it wasn't for Duren playing at a high level, we probably don't get to 60 wins during that time that Cade was off on the bench dealing with an injury. We probably don't get to 60 wins without those two. Jalen Duren is a perfectly fine player. He just has some holes in his game. And those holes are plugged up by Cade Cunningham. Okay, so John Hamm, I guess he's like James Hamm, I'm sorry. I don't want to say, we were just talking about the actor for a second. But James Hamm, I believe he's like a Sacramento Kings Locked On podcast host. So I guess you can take this with a grain of salt. But I did see some comments saying that he's been covering the Kings for like a few years now. And maybe he was a reporter that was in the locker room or something. So either way, people were saying he has sources. But James Hamm reported that the Pistons will want 1 or 2 unprotected first-round picks along with Sabonis. That gets me answering the phone. I would for sure, not one, I would for sure want 2 first-round picks, and they can be pick swaps. That's fine. I don't care. I'm just going to use them for trades anyways. But, like, at least 2 first-round picks. I'm okay with Sabonis. I don't love the trade. I think something, too, with the cap is that the Pistons would have to also trade another player along with Duren because let's say they sign him where it, like, works as a 1-for-1. In that trade, with a sign and trade, they can only use, like, I think 20 to 30%, or maybe it's half of the salary that's owed to them in year 1 to make the trade. So they would have to attach someone else to it, maybe Karis LeVert or something. I don't know how that works for Sacramento because they would be taking like $60 million back if, let's say, the Pistons did sign and trade Duren for $45 million and they did also acquire Karis. So there would have to be, I don't think it would be a 1-for-1. I think this dude is, whoever he's talking to might be mixing this up a little bit. I don't think it would be a 1-for-1. It just doesn't. According to the rules, when it comes to salaries and sign and trades, it just wouldn't work as a 1-for-1. You'd have to attach someone else in there. And I don't know, maybe the Pistons get Sabonis and Keegan Murray. I would like that for Jalen Duren and a couple of first-round picks. Dude, it's the Sacramento Kings, dude. You can pretty much do whatever you want. And, yeah, they probably just accept it. I would if like Jalen Duren is set on being traded from the Detroit Pistons, I'd rather have them work on a deal to bring in Trey Murphy. Like, I would be more than okay with that if Jalen Duren truly does want to be out of Detroit. I think he's a fine pick-and-roll player with Cade. Obviously, I would love to see him better on defense. I'd love to see him step up a little bit on that end. And I would like for him to just develop more of an offensive game. That's all I'd like to see from Duren if he wants to stay here. So what would be the Pistons getting with Sabonis? Well, he is a very interesting player when it comes by NBA standards. And I've been a fan for a while. I've been a fan of his since I watched him at Gonzaga. He's a baller, man. His last healthy season, he played 70 games. This was in 24-25. He averaged 19 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, while shooting 59% from the field, 42% from three on 2.2 attempts, so not a ton of volume. Got to the line 4 times and hit 75% of his shots. The year before, pretty much the same thing. He was 19 and 14 with 8 assists, almost a steal, almost a block, shooting 59% from the field and 38% from the three-point line. Like, he doesn't take a lot of three-pointers, but like career-wise, he's 34%. And since his full season in Sacramento, which was 22-23, he's hit 37% of his threes, except for this past season where he only played 19 games and started 15. But even with the year where it was filled with injury, he still averaged 16 and 11 with 4 assists and a steal per game, still shooting 54% from the field and 73% from the line. It was a down year for him, but he was still productive in the limited amount of games he got to play. I like him. He has more of a complete offensive game than Jalen Duren does, and this is the step I would like to see Jalen Duren take. I know I mentioned the three-point shooting. He's not much of a jump shooter. He can stretch the floor a little bit, and defenses do respect his jumper. You can go watch his highlights on YouTube. You can even probably go watch a few full games if you need to. Defenses definitely respect him on the offensive end. He's not much of a defensive player. We already all know this. But team defense is so much more important than just an individual defensive player. Like we've already seen with Asar. Asar is a great individual team player, but he didn't win games as an individual defensive player. It takes the team to win games on the defensive end. Sure, he can get a couple of key stops, but you have to understand what I'm talking about. Like, offense wins games. Defense helps the offense win games. But I digress. I'm a fan of Domantas Sabonis. I don't know if I really want him in Detroit just because he is an offensive hub. He's so good at creating for others. I don't really want the ball out of Cade's hands, though, and giving it somewhere else. Now, if I thought J.B. Bickerstaff was a more creative coach on the offensive end, sure, I still think he can make it work. I'm just not as a fan of this move just because I feel like there's a lot to be desired in his game, even though he's so good offensively. It's like, I guess I don't know what he would look like in a reduced role where the offense isn't running through him. That's what I would like to see from Sabonis. And we'll probably get it in Detroit if this trade does go through. I just don't love the trade. I would rather have some combination of Keegan Murray and Raynon. I like Raynon games more. He's not much better of a defender, but like, he's 7'1". He can shoot the 3-ball. He's a tough player. He likes to get physical. Same thing as Sabonis, but neither of them are much of defenders. Like Raynon, you'd pretty much be trading for him for the offensive upside, in my opinion. That's what you would be trading him for, is that you think this guy could be maybe a 20-10 guy with a point guard like Cade. I don't know. But I'm kind of out. Did not mean to burp into the microphone. I think I'm out on Sabonis. Obviously, I'm going to root for him if he comes to Detroit because I do think he has a good game. I'm just worried that we won't get to see all the playmaking, which is what makes him special here in Detroit. Because I feel like playing with De'Aaron Fox is completely different than playing with a Cade Cunningham who does run the show. I don't want to just make a trade just to make it work. I would rather go Raynaud and Keegan Murray in the trade versus Sabonis, just because I feel like Sabonis won't give us the entire bag offensively. I feel like he would be more of just a rim-rolling, rebounding center, a lot like Jalen Duren, and we want to get to see the special parts of his game here in Detroit. And I could be wrong. I 100% could be wrong. Maybe he gets here and he averages 20, 14, and 6 again. And him and Cade are just incredible playing off of each other. And, like, everybody's moving, everybody's cutting. It looks like a Will Hardy offense in Utah, but here in Detroit with better players. All right, so according to Chris Haynes, Tobias Harris is unlikely to return to Detroit. My immediate thoughts were not surprised. Another chance at another big contract for him. Go out and get it. If a team is willing to pay you $25 million or more a year, go and get it. I don't think that's what Detroit's willing to offer him. I will miss him. I was a fan of him his first stint in Detroit. I love that team with Andre Drummond, Morris, Tobias Harris, Reggie Jackson, KCP. I loved that squad. I've been a huge fan of Tobias Harris for a long time. So I'm a little annoyed with all the stuff he said about Detroit, where like basically he's like, I love Detroit. This is where I want to be. I hate when players say that. I would rather them not say anything, just because when I hear that from players, I'm like, yeah, they're going to take a hometown discount. Like, they're going to take a hometown discount. He's going to be, I believe, 34 next season. And that's what I think. I'd rather just have him be quiet. There are 5 teams he's meeting with in free agency, which is just, again, this is pretty crazy because it's Tobias Harris. I can't believe, I guess I shouldn't say I'm surprised that there's like such a demand for him. It's just that he's going to be 34 next year. And like, that's when players really start to decline, in my opinion, in today's NBA. 34, 35, 36, that's when you start to see some, again, unless they're a really special player, you start to see some regression. There are no teams that are listed for who are interested in Tobias Harris and his services. I believe San Antonio, though, that's a name that's been creeping up from what I've been finding online. I believe Charlotte. I don't know if I really believe Charlotte, though, just because their GM mentioned Tobias Harris when he was just talking about the Pistons and using them as an example for like how a rebuild should go when you bring in veterans. So I don't know if they're actually interested in Tobias Harris or if he was just brought up in a conversation to like make a point. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm curious to see the 5 teams that are interested in Tobias Harris. I can definitely see San Antonio. I can definitely see Minnesota, because then you could still have Jaden McDaniels at the 3 and Tobias Harris at the 4. That makes a lot of sense. I could see a team like Boston taking them, because then you could play Brown, Tatum, and Tobias Harris all together. And you'd have, like, maybe with Derek White running point or whatever, and you just have massive spacing with that team. It would just be incredible. I could really just see championship contending teams taking a look at him and asking him for his services. But I could also see Tobias Harris going to a team that might masquerade as a championship contender, but really they're just like a playoff team. So that could be pretty interesting. Like, I don't know if Tobias Harris is just trying to get one big bag before he retires, or if he really is pursuing an NBA championship. But that's just for him to know. But if he does decide to leave and he is done in Detroit, I will miss him. I'll definitely not boo him. I'll just tell other Pistons fans I was right. I'm glad that they signed him. I'm glad he helped establish the culture here in Detroit. And I'm glad, he provided some experience where these young guys got better and they got to make a deep playoff run. The Mavericks have emerged as a leading suitor to acquire Marcus Sasser via trade, according to Marc Stein. I'm happy for Sasser. I feel like he was improperly used this past season. And just looking at his numbers, I don't know what was going on. So during the regular season, if you look at his catch and shoot numbers, he only took 33% of his shots were catch and shoot. His 3-point percentage on catch and shoot was 48%. Why this dude wasn't on the floor and played in more than 38 games is beyond me. You look at his shooting splits and you're like, dang, dude, this dude is like, he was kind of good from shooting from the 3-point line. If you look at his 0 dribbles on catch and shoot, 0 dribbles, 48%. 1 dribble, 46, which is like a pump fake, 1 dribble over, and yeah, you're hitting the 3. When he was wide open, he hit 43% of his 3-pointers, which is, again, crazy. I just feel like when he touched the ball for less than 2 seconds, he shot 49% from 3. And you mean to tell me we cannot have used those shooting numbers in Detroit? I have said this for a long time. I've never thought Marcus Sasser was a true traditional point guard. I think he lacks the necessary skill to really create his own offense. But as an off guard playing alongside Cade Cunningham, I think there really could have been something there for the Detroit Pistons. But unfortunately, we really didn't play Sasser that much to really get a good feel for his game. I don't know if he ever could have been a starter for Detroit, but I think he could have definitely shared the backcourt and shared some minutes with Cade Cunningham as an off-ball shooter. And if I'm Marcus Sasser, I am trying to change my game up. I am becoming a three-point specialist. I'm taking 5, 6, 7 3-pointers a game every time I'm in. If I'm Marcus Sasser, the only thing I'm doing is, how do I get my shot off? How do I become a shooter and a 3-and-D guy for whatever team acquires me? That's what I want to see from Marcus Sasser. And I'll be rooting for him. He's not one of these guys I'm going to be booing once he comes back to Detroit if he is traded. I will be rooting for this guy for the entirety of his career. I love Marcus Sasser. He was a hell of a late-round pickup for the Detroit Pistons. I think there was a lot more juice that could have been squeezed out of him here in Detroit, but unfortunately, we're not getting it. And those shooting splits definitely agree with what I'm saying. So my final piece of news that I want to talk about, and I don't know, I expect people just to turn it off when I mention this, but Shams Charania said the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Detroit Pistons were amongst the multiple teams attempting to trade for Kawhi Leonard before they were rebuffed by Leonard's camp. Leonard intends to retire with the Toronto Raptors. Does Kawhi know how close Detroit and Toronto are? Does he know? Like, he could have easily lived and played in Detroit and still visited Toronto if he wanted to. I mean, it's just a quick drive over the bridge, right? Unless Toronto moved farther away from Detroit. Last time I checked, I don't think they did. But you never know in the U.S. today. So I was out on Kawhi Leonard, especially when the report came that he was not interested in re-signing with Detroit. And it kind of seemed like he didn't want to be here to begin with. So I was out on him. I think he's a very good player. He's an incredible player. When he's healthy, he's probably one of the top 10, top 5 players in the league, even at 35, 36 years old, whatever he's going to be this upcoming season. He's a special player. I think Toronto is poised to make another run with him. I really do. I don't want to be like hyperbolic or anything. I just think Kawhi is a difference maker. You look at the Raptors roster from top to bottom. They are a very good team. They know their identity. They know what they can do. And it feels like they really are just one healthy Kawhi Leonard away from really competing for an NBA championship. And part of the other reason I was out on him in Detroit, I didn't feel like Detroit was a Kawhi Leonard away from really competing for a championship. So that's why I was out on him. That's not any real news for me, just to hear the Pistons were interested. That's called due diligence. If he really was available, you should be calling and seeing what the Clippers are asking for Kawhi Leonard. But again, no news. Kawhi Leonard, he's a Toronto Raptor. We're going to have to see him a couple of times this year. Hopefully, we don't meet him in the playoffs. And if we do, hopefully it's the Eastern Conference Finals. Thank you for listening to the 3 Championship Drive podcast. As always, I am Lance Caporossi. Do me a favor. Hit subscribe, hit follow, rate, review, but more importantly, tell a Pistons fan.